Welcome to this week's edition of the Nation's Capital Sports Show, where it's most definitely on. I'm Kevin Jeter with Vincent Charles, Afshin Banab, and Stephen Mangas. Gentlemen, let's get started talking about what we enjoy talking about the best and the most, and that is sports here in the DMV. I don't know if we're going to enjoy talking about the Washington Nationals, but let's give it a try. They fought so hard in the regular season to get one of the best records in Major League Baseball, as well as winning their division, which means once they won their division, they got home field advantage. Well, San Francisco takes a 2-0 lead, and now they head back into San Francisco. And when this broadcast finally airs, we'll know whether or not they're going to be successful, win those two games that is needed. Man, what's happening there, Stephen?
Yeah, well, home field advantage obviously goes out the window when you lose the first two games. So the Nationals now have to go win all three in a best-out-of-5 series. Much different than a best-out-of-7 where you can afford to lose a third game. Win one, lose one, then win another two. It's got to be straight-out 3 wins now. Very disheartening game. In Game 2, obviously going 18 innings. Zimmerman pitched a great game. It was a great game from both starters and almost had the complete game. I personally think he probably should have stayed in and just completed the game, even though there was a runner on first after that walk.
Yeah, well, that's true too. Hindsight is 20/20. You don't want to go questioning the manager, but nonetheless, we will, because at some point, Vincent, and you and I were coming from Delaware, and we talked about this when Matt Williams made that change, and we were thinking, well, Zimmerman was able to be successful in the regular season when he did a complete game and a no-hitter. What made the difference then? I understand he had someone at the first base, but gosh darn it, let the man finish it off.
Yeah, let's remember, he did pitch a no-hitter just a few days prior to that, so he may, Matt Williams may have been thinking long-term with regards to Jordan Zimmerman. He did pitch a great game. I think he had 6 strikeouts, 3 walks, and only gave up 1 earned run. But I also want to give credit to the San Francisco Giants. They have a really big starting pitching crew, especially with Madison Bumgarner. And let's realize, too, that the Nationals lost these 2 games basically on 2 solo home runs by the San Francisco Giants, both guys with the first name of Brandon. So, the Nats are playing well. I don't know if I agree with you guys. I might have still pulled Jordan Zimmerman just because I'm thinking long-term. And the bullpen was doing so well throughout the season that you think that they would have carried them through. And technically they did. They won 18 innings in Game 2.
Well, that's true. I'm going to disagree with you on that one. But the bottom line is this, Vincent. We didn't see offensive-wise, and this is something else I'm going to bring up too. We didn't see the Nats play the ball that they're used to playing. That is, hit it where they ain't, the basics of the game. We did not see that. And we saw them shooting for the fences, in which I totally disagreed with, especially on the night in Game 2, where the dynamics in the air, when it's chilly outside and the wind is blowing, no matter how hard you hit the ball, it's going to fall short. Vincent.
In a nutshell, Kevin, they are not hitting the baseball.
Thank you.
And with the offensive prowess that they do have, they definitely need to turn it around. You do have to give San Francisco credit because they have good pitching. Now, they haven't been hitting the cover off of the ball either. But the Nats, they stranded a lot of runners in the first game. The second game, they just didn't come up with timely hitting, which they need, and they haven't been setting the table for the power hitters, and that has got to change, Kevin.
That's right. Well, change could be a coming, because I'm suggesting that Matt Williams shakes up the lineup just a little bit and perhaps move Rendon into the first leadoff batting space. You have to do things to shake things up. Steve.
Yeah, you may see something shaken up, or we may have already seen it by the time it airs, but I do have to agree. The weather, you could certainly see an effect. That was another point you made there that I wanted to touch on again. Bryce Harper had that almost walk-off shot. It really looked like it was going to go. He thought it was going to go. You could see him standing there. This, of course, one game after he sent one to the third tank, so surely the confidence of being able to hit one well over 400 feet is why he was swinging for the fences. But that cold air and that wind, that made that one fall short.
That's right. And we want to remind everyone that you're watching the Nation's Capital Sports Show right here on Comcast 39 and Files 38 via Arlington Independent Media, AIM. Afshin, we're going to let you have the last word on this, man.
Yeah, well, we talk about weather now. They go out to San Francisco, and the city by the bay can be like the Windy City, Chicago at times, because it is right there on San Francisco Bay. But I would like to see Matt Williams make a change, maybe shake something up, like you said, Kevin, and see if they can get back into this thing. Unfortunately, it's a 5-game series, so hope is very little right now.
But we can still hope, because hope is eternal. Because the thing about it, the same team that they're playing in, the San Francisco Giants, were able to do it 2 years or 3 years ago when they came back in the best-of-5 series.
We shall see.
So anything can happen. I do believe that they do need to make those changes. Let's keep our fingers crossed. I like that, Stephen. So let's continue to talk about football. Actually, let's go on and talk about NFL football, especially Thursday night football. Man, you're talking about blowouts. It's every game, not unless you are the fan of the team that's winning, has been decided by the second half. I don't know what's going on with Thursday night football, but we've seen the Redskins and Tampa Bay take it on the chin in a big way. Wow. I mean, they suffered demoralizing losses. What's going on there, Stephen?
Well, as a Redskins fan, it is difficult to say that they are the only team that got the shellacking in their own stadium. All the other 3 games of the 4 so far have all been the home teams just dominating the visiting team, which can always be attributed to the shortened time frame that those visiting teams have to get to where they're going. They basically have 1 real day of practice, and it's difficult for recovering for injuries.
That's right.
And game planning.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point, Afshin. Let's talk more in terms of if a team has less time to practice and then you throw in the travel time, that could actually discombobulate things a little bit too. And the other point too about this, in which we pointed out prior in our pre-production show, is that they started NFL Thursday earlier than they did in the past.
Right, they usually start around week 8 or week 9. This time they wanted to go ahead with the beginning of the season. And I'll tell you one thing, whether there have been a shellacking or not in all 4 games, the ratings have been through the roof in all 4 games as well. So, even from the first one when Baltimore and Pittsburgh played. But there's 2 points I'd like to make. One is I'll reiterate what you guys said. The travel day, not only does it take away from that visiting team, it takes away 1 practice day from that visiting team, where the home team can sit there and practice while the other team is in the air coming to us, right? And then the other point is that the 3 of the 4 games, first-year head coaches got bombed in those 3 of those first 4 games. So I think that has something to do with it as well. Lovie Smith at Tampa, John Gruden in Washington. That probably has a lot to do with it as well. So
let's let Vincent get in here.
I agree with you, Avsheen, that having the shorter practice week and the travel time, that has a lot to do with it. And I think it's unfair to, there's going to be one team that only has about 2 days to prepare for the game. And I think that's lopsided. But once again, the ratings are very high. So what do?
I guess people want to see NFL football regardless of
Regardless,
whether or not it's a shellacking or beat down or whatever.
Right.
Bring it on, baby.
That's right, man. Bring it on. No, you hit on a good point. People are just they love football. That has become the national game. The NFL has surpassed baseball as the national game.
All right, so in you guys' opinion, a question for you guys, last question in this segment. There is no end in sight in terms of the NFL ending football. I know that's a rhetorical question, but I had to ask it at the expense of looking and appearing stupid. Afshin, we'll start with you. I'll take one for the home team.
No, as long as there's fan interest and the ratings are high, no, absolutely not. They'll keep doing it.
All right.
I want to say the only way that I think anything could change on Thursday night football is with the NFLPA getting involved, if it really becomes something in that respect.
And Vincent, last words.
I think the only way it's going to change is if the stands empty and if the television sets are turned off.
They're starting to
since we know that's not going to happen, and the Vegas art makers, that's not going to happen either, and the people that play pro fantasy sports like you two gentlemen at the end. But nonetheless, I digress. All right, so let's talk about our quick picks in pro sports. We each going to ask you guys something about our beloved Wizards, DC United, the Washington Redskins, and I know I'm forgetting the team, the Washington Capitals. And so you have each a minute to just talk about whatever you want to talk about when it comes to those teams. I may just say just go, or I may have a question. So Vincent, you're going to start on a quick pick here. Is there cause for concern and panic when it comes to those Washington Redskins?
There certainly is. They're lacking a pass rush against good teams. The defensive secondary is now very much hurting because of D'Angelo Hall and his injury. The offensive line is not protecting the quarterback, no matter who is the quarterback. The quarterback is running from defenders. And there is definite cause for concern, especially for the Redskins this week with Seattle coming to town.
That's right. By the time this broadcast airs, we would have seen, or the results of that game would have been decided. Hopefully it's not a Monday massacre. So when the next time that we do have a show, we'll be talking nice things about the Washington Redskins. You have anything else to add?
Well, they certainly have to find something in their game plan.
All right, let's hope
to
that
be able to compete.
Let's hope that they find something to be able to compete. And how about Robert Griffin III saying that he's going to come back within 3 weeks? I heard that young man. All right, Afshin, the Wizards have made some major changes during the offseason. I agree that you're right, too. Will they have more wins than last season? Will this be a successful year for the Wizards?
I think it should be a successful year. I think it will be a successful year. I think you arguably have the best backcourt, at least in the Eastern Conference, with John Wall and Bradley Beal. I think the primary concern for the Washington Wizards right now will be what happens with Glenn Rice Jr. and Otto Porter Jr. Martell Webster has a bad back, so who knows when he'll return. Trevor Ariza is gone. Those two young fellas have to step up and replace Ariza and Webster in order for this team to be successful. And then you've got the leadership of the guru himself, Paul Pierce, being on the team. So I think that
the truth.
I think that, the truth. He is the truth, and I think that will enable the Wizards to really push and advance in the playoffs this year without injuries. We're talking about healthy guys now. They have a chance to do it, but it all comes down to Beal and Wall in the backcourt and what kind of contribution will you get from Glenn Rice Jr. should he make the team, and Otto Porter Jr.
All right, let's hope that the truth doesn't lie. All right, Steve, we're going to come back to you in just a second young man.
All right.
All right, let's talk about a little bit about the Washington Capitals. Now that you've seen the Caps in preseason, what are some of the things that you take away, and what is your initial impressions on the Caps head coach, Barry Trotz?
Well, right now the initial impressions are good. They finished 5-3 in the preseason. While that doesn't necessarily mean anything, of course, and doesn't correlate to the regular season, you like seeing that with a first-time head coach because that means that they're starting to understand the system and understand it quickly in order to put together preseason wins. It's not discombobulated. And from what I can tell, all the players are really behind it, especially the guys on the blue line. Even ones that have yet to play, and Mike Green, he seems to be really excited about getting his chance to be inserted into the system. And then, as we've mentioned briefly before, Burakovsky, he's looked really impressive, and I would like to see him make the roster, play in the regular season, perhaps stay where he's at on that second line, at least for a few weeks, give him a shot there until other guys come back from injury. Tom Wilson, whenever he returns, that'll start shaking up that top six.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, Afshin, last but not least, we're coming back to you, and we're going to talk about, since our beloved colleague and Chris Jerry is not here today, this one's going to go for you, and it's in regards to D.C. United. How far will D.C. United go in the playoffs?
I don't know. I think they can make it through the Eastern Conference. Certainly they've clinched a playoff spot, and they are in first place, and they'll probably have the best record in the Eastern Conference. They have a real good shot of advancing there. The question is, they'll probably end up, if they do make it to the title championship, they'll end up playing either Real, Salt Lake, or someone of that ilk, or the Seattle Sounders, who are probably the best team in MLS. But I think they have a good shot. As long as Ben Olsen is there, I give them a great chance of advancing through the playoffs.
All right, so go DC United, go Washington
That's
Wizards,
right.
go Capitals, rocking that red. We all need to make a group trip to a hockey game, and go Washington Redskins. I'm Kevin Jeter, along with Afshin Bernard, Vincent Charles, and Steve Mangas. Coming up after the bout, so after the jump, we're going to be talking more Nation's Capital Sports Show. As a matter of fact, we're going to do our college roundup segment, and we're also going to talk high school football. We'll talk that in regards to our safety segment. This and so much more, where you can catch the Nation's Capital Sports Show on TuneIn.com. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Nation's Capital Sports Show, where it's most definitely on. You can catch us and like us on Facebook/TNCSS.com. I'm Kevin Judah, hanging out with Vincent Charles, Afshin Bernard, and Stephen Mangas. Let's continue our foray and talking about local sports. This time we're going to talk about our local college football roundup. I'm going to have some questions for you guys, or I'm going to mention the team, and you guys can just talk about whatever you need to talk about. And so since Chris is not here today, I'm going to defer to you, Afshin, to give us an update what's happening with the Virginia Cavaliers. who's, so to speak,
Yeah.
UVA.
Yeah, Chris's Cavaliers are 4-2 this year. They're doing a good job. They just came off of a victory against Pittsburgh. They've got Duke and North Carolina up next. Mike London is saving his job. I think that's what Chris would say right now. As of this point, Mike London is saving his job as far as the UVA Cavaliers. He's putting in Matt Johns at quarterback, and he has shined a nice little light on Cavaliers football. So far, so good for UVA, but there's still a long way to go.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
at least it's starting out kind of good.
It is.
So let's hope that they
It is.
continue on that road. And I'm quite sure Mr. Jury hopes that they can continue on that good,
Yes.
fortunate road too. Vincent, you predicted that the Terps would only get 3 wins, but they surpassed that. They're 4-2 or 4-1 to the or something to that effect. And you got to like the way that that they've been playing, although they've been having quarterback problems, so to speak.
Yes, they have. They were 4-1 going into the Ohio State game, which they got clobbered, 52-24. They were outplayed in every aspect of the game. C.J. Brown, he did start the game, but he just could not overcome that powerful OSU defense.
Well,
Caleb Rowe
yeah,
came in the second half.
What's up with C.J. Brown? I mean, because it's almost like he's a glass doll, and he's been redshirted twice, and you hate to see the young man get injured, but wow.
You hate to, but he just seems to be injury prone. You got to give him credit for coming back every year and giving it the old college try.
I like that.
Caleb Rowe, the backup quarterback, he was decent, but the Terps, they were just outplayed in just about every aspect of that game. It was a sellout, but the crowd started leaving in the third quarter. What this shows is Maryland needs to get their program up to the program of, say, Ohio State, somebody who's the standard bearer of the Big Ten. Oh, along with Michigan, Av Sheen's Michigan team. But Maryland saw from
Don't
that
want to talk
game
about them.
that they still have a long way to go in the Big Ten. And this year, they have got Iowa, Wisconsin, Penn State, Michigan State.
And so my
Michigan.
question we're going to end this on is, in terms of your time here, do they have at least one more win, or how many more wins the Terps have in them?
They have one win, not in the Big Ten, Rutgers.
All right,
at
so
the end of the year.
we'll let you have
Big
that.
Ten.
Let's move on to Av Sheen. Howard University, the Howard University Bison, they're having a time of their life, but it's not what you think.
Well, you tell you what, if you know the great book by Charles Dickens, right? Tale of Two Cities. Howard is that way. They're a tale of two teams. Their offense is one of the best in the MEAC. They rank second, I think, in the MEAC at about 400 yards passing a game, or 400 total yards a game.
That's Dr. Jekyll.
That's right.
Yeah.
and then their defense gives up about 450 yards a game.
That's Mr. Hyde.
Right?
Yeah.
They have a great quarterback in Greg McGee, but he should not be their leading rusher at 70 yards per game. Then they also have a punter who is like probably their most productive player outside of Greg McGee, and that's John Fleck, who averages about 48, 49 yards a punt, and he's got an honorable mention in the MEAC the last 2 weeks. The most important thing for Howard is I think that we will see them progress 2, 3, and 4 years down the road, because Gary the Flea Harrell, who was one of the greatest players in Howard University Bison history, is now back at the helm. He had a lot of issues last year. He wasn't their coach in the team. Personal issues, maybe issues with Howard, I'm not sure. Good to see him back in that role. Good to see him take charge of that team, and he will be successful.
All right, but this is not a winning year this year.
No,
for
they
Howard.
are 1-5 in the MEAC right now.
All
so.
right, well, that says it all. Let's hope that they can have some respectability
Yes.
along the way with their wins. Stephen, what's going on in the world of Navy football, sir?
Well, the Navy midshipmen who have owned the Commanders-in-Chief trophy for the last 2 years outright are in danger of losing that this year. They're coming off of a loss to Air Force, which snapped a 5-game Service Academy win streak. So that was heartbreaking for them, as you could see it on the field if you watch it for sure. And that puts them at 2-4 on the season right now. Obviously, they still have their game at FedEx Field at Notre Dame, which will be something to look forward to. And then, of course, the game against Army later in the year. One thing for them to smile about is their former coach, Wayne Harding, is being enshrined in the College Pro Football Hall of Fame this week. So smile about that and reminisce, Navy fans.
Let's smile about that, and let's salute them as well. All right, let's talk a little bit about high school football, our safety segment here. This is something in which Av Sheen and Stephen did in terms of planning for the show. Great job, but I enjoy what we're about to talk about here. So being the radio man or person that I am, I'm going to read this. That's what I do. No teleprompter. Arlington County Public School football teams are the first in the nation among high schools to use the new Rydell Revolution helmets that are designed to reduce concussion risk. 3 schools under its jurisdiction, Wakefield, Washington Lee, and Yorktown, will be using these helmets. The total cost of investment for the 300 helmets is $70,000, and that's about $233 per player. I'm going to read a quote here. This is a good quotable from our Facebook page. Quote, well worth all the possible brain injury. Also, when you consider their brains won't finish developing for another 10 years. End of quote. Devin Gallagher, our producer. So he hits up our Facebook page as well. Stephen.
Yeah, it's good to see some high schools and anything at that younger level being proactive with head trauma and injuries and player safety. It's definitely something you'd like to see go more widespread than just in Arlington. But as you read the numbers, it is fairly expensive cost, so perhaps why we haven't seen it yet, but you'd like to see it more.
Yeah. Well, who's going to pay for this, Afshin, for other jurisdictions as they go down the line?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of other jurisdictions are trying different things. There's a sensor. Loudoun County is trying the sensor in the helmet type thing, and that doesn't seem to be working. I agree that we need to do something. To tell you the truth, I don't know if this is actually going to solve the issue, because you know how when we were kids we had the Super Ball and it bounced, you could throw it as hard as you at a wall and it wouldn't break, but sometimes some Super Balls had something in it that would shake. The concussion issue is not your head, it's your brain.
Let's talk about this then. Another part of the technology is fields that some high schools have where there's an extra padding or cushion under the field.
Well,
let's talk about that.
That's already done. That's already happened. Wakefield High School, they just got a spanking brand new field, brand new press box, brand new everything. And they've put on this under the field turf, they've actually put in I want to call it a microfiber. I'm not sure that's what it is, but it is an extra padding. I think it's made of microfiber under that turf. But like I said again, it's the brain that's affected, not your skull. And when you take that hit, you want to make sure that the brain is okay.
That's right.
And hopefully some of this will work at least at some level. And Devin is right. Maybe 10 years down the road, things will change.
That's right. Vincent.
When Afshin talks about when you take that hit, okay, that phrase to me says coaching, okay? Coaching, I think, is very important in this discussion. Teaching kids not to use the head when they're blocking and tackling, going back to using the shoulder like I was taught growing up. Now, the field, that is a factor, yes. I think AstroTurf fields should be out.
You make some
way too hard.
You make some good points, Vince. I agree with everything you said. But what do you do when a kid is hit legally and they end up falling on their head?
Well, the helmet and helmet technology, that is a good thing. It's going to take some time, though.
But we don't know as to whether or not this technology is proven. I checked the Rydell site yet, and I agree with you. There are no conclusive studies in regards to this yet, but you like the way in which they're headed.
Yeah, the science behind those helmets is the cushioning inside of that hard shell is meant to slow down the skull's impact into the helmet, which will then reduce the speed of the brain's impact into the skull, which is causing the concussion. And then, as Vincent's talking about, with the fields, the padding on the field is a lot of concussions you end up seeing aren't even the head-to-head collision. It is that fall to the field. So perhaps a safer and softer field will reduce the initial impact and then the secondary and third impacts within that skull.
One quick thing.
Let me finish there. Do you feel that this, to a question to all you guys, will this go to the lower JV levels, or would it go to the level of the boys and girl clubs with the little children? Although when you go to a game and you watch 10 and 11-year-olds tackle or 7-year-olds tackle, it's kind of comical because they're not really hitting hard anyway.
Yeah, no, you have to start at the lower level, and here's why. Because if you don't, parents are going to pull their kids away from playing Little League football, and then you have no one to move on up and play at the JV and the high school level. So you're going to have to do that. You're going to have seminars on this, seminars on how to tackle at that early age, Vincent. Not even at the high school level, but when they are 7 and 8 years old.
I want to hear Stephen get in on this real quick.
Well, the last point I wanted to add is whether it's at a lower level or any kind of level is I'd like to see more innovation and more openness to trying different types of helmeting instead of just sticking with that. And that would include the NFL not having sponsorship agreements because, as we mentioned, Arlington went and bought the helmets that are being used by the NFL, even there's a couple more rated higher.
All right, so I'm going to let you go real quick. You only have 15 seconds. You wanted to mention something else. Get it done. 15.
Yes. I agree with teaching the kids at the lower level, yes, but I don't believe kids should be wearing a helmet till they're 12 years old. They should teach them the fundamentals of the football game, at the flag football, touch football level. Getting back to
No,
talking about
all right, your 15 seconds is up. I thought he was going to go for 15 seconds. He always wants to go longer, but you'll learn one of these days. Sorry about that. If you want to find out more, we're going to do this on our Facebook page. Just let me know what you want to post. I'll post it for you. We can continue our conversation then, because we're available to our listeners and our viewers via Facebook. Afshin, when you talk about our show, you have a lot of people behind the scenes here at AIM that I'm always happy to see. Some are my friends, some are good colleagues, some are just great people. All of them are great people, and it all starts with Devin Gallagher and Charles Smith and
and Kevin
Sampson.
It starts with those three guys: Herbert McNair, Janessa Jackson, Bill Weisner, L.J. Lacoma, Ken Briley, the pride of Washington Lee High School, Craig Syfax, no doubt about it. And of course, back and better than ever, my man David Aronson, our floor manager today. He covers a lot of high school football games with us.
He's all over the place.
He's
with
everywhere.
Excellent documentaries, camera work, just all around.
Absolutely.
Talent, man.
And it's wonderful to see you here, my man. I'm
Yes,
glad
it
you're
is.
back. But everybody, a great job as usual, and they make us sound and look good.
All right, so
It's hard to do.
Our email address, speak for yourself.
I am.
Our email address is info@tncss.net. You can watch the Nation's Capital Sports Show on AIM via Comcast 69 and Fios 38, Sunday at 3 p.m., Monday at 9:30 a.m., and Friday at 9:30 p.m. And I had an owner here to throw it to you, Afshin, but I actually threw it to you sooner. But that's nonetheless that
Throw it back
worked
to yourself.
out.
Go ahead.
Throwing it back to myself. So on behalf of the entire AIM crew, I'm Kevin Jeter with Vincent Charles, Afshin Banav, and Stephen Mangas. We thank you for watching and listening to the Nation's Capital Sports Show, where it's most definitely on. Take care and have a great sporting day, as well as a great sporting week. Bye.